read it, you'll get a glimpse of it, how our foreign minister thinks. It says, this is a time for us to engage America, manage China, cultivate Europe, reassure Russia, bring Japan into play.
If you ask me, would you say it again? I would say yes. I would say it again because, but I would also say each one has become more complicated in 5 years. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Huh? Managing China has become complicated. Reassuring Russia became complicated because, you know, it's Ukraine war, the pressure on us to move away from Russia.
So what's your now read going on? What are you reading nowadays that is keeping you engaged as a reader?
Yuvrajji, first of all, let me thank you, thank the organizers, thank the audience. And, you know, it's always good to come back to Pune, but I must honestly tell you one thing. I have never seen so many people at a literature festival. And that tells me a lot about Pune. It tells me a lot about the people. And it tells me a lot today about the desire, particularly of the younger generation, to learn about the country, learn about our culture, learn about the world. So, आपका जो सवाल जो है, now, to be honest, I don't have one answer, and I'll tell you why. I don't know how many people do this, but sometimes, you know, there are people, I'm one of them, एक समय में 2-3 किताब साथ ही साथ पढ़ते हैं. You know, you pick up one, you read some, then you put it down, and normally they're not similar books. You know, you pick different types of books. So, right now, in fact, I just finished Arvind Panagaria's Nehru Development Model. For me, that was very interesting because my studies was political science, I did diplomacy, I'm a politician now. So, you know, I knew some of the politics of this. But to read someone who actually taught, you know, who explained the economics and the choices, and, you know, he's quite critical, as you know, in that book. So, for me, it was, in a way, I mean, I got what I wanted in a book, new information, new perspective, new knowledge. That was one book. The second one, in fact, I just picked up. It's actually a book called Outlive. It's written by a doctor. I think perhaps not the younger people, they don't need to worry about it now. Slightly more experienced people would know why you have an interest in a book like Outlive. The third one, which I've actually been reading for some time, because it is a series. It was actually presented to me. It's a person called Shiva Shankari. It's called Knit India Through Literature. I think that is the name. And why I found it very interesting, you know, we don't know the literature of many other languages of India. So, say if you are Marathi, you will know Marathi literature, Hindi literature, maybe English literature, but not necessarily Assamese or Tamil or... So what she has done is, she has taken a series of writers. She gave me 4 volumes, North, South, East, West. So, and these are relatively short stories. So, बीच में flight में जाते हैं, 2 पढ़ के नीचे कर देते हैं, उसके बाद, then you pick it up again. But the one which I am going through, and it has a relationship. You know, a few months ago, I had a publisher from France. So, this is quite a big publisher. तो वो आए मेरे पास, उन्होंने कहा कि देखिए साहब आपकी किताब जो है वो अब it is in English, it is in Japanese, it is in Russian, Hungarian, but it is not in French. So I would like to publish it. I said, yes, please, thank you. So normally somebody publishes, I am not even bothered. I mean, to me the service is, चलिए उन्होंने अनुवाद किया है, they have presented my book to a bigger audience. So then I said, okay, which of the 2 are you publishing? He said, that one, India Way. I was a little bit surprised. I said, this is a much later book. To
Perfect,
which
sir.
his answer was, but this is it's more for an international audience, in his view. Huh? It is more for an international audience, this is more for a domestic audience. So I want to do this one. Now my answer was, I wrote this in 2020. I actually wrote it in 2019. Then I became a minister. Then I said, I can't write many things now as a minister. So I sat one more year, revised the book, and published it in 2020. I said, book is 5 years old. Why, if you publish it now, people will say, so many things have happened in 5 years, ये तो out of date है. अब जब 2020 में at that time, for example, Mr. Trump was president. Now he's president again, but in between he was not. Our relations with China was very different. That has changed. Ukraine war had just, was not on the horizon. उस समय COVID was the big issue. So, बात करते करते, he gave me, the conversation gave me an idea. There is I don't know how many people would be familiar, ये बहुत पुरानी किताब है, very famous book called Three Musketeers. Three Musketeers was written 180 years ago. Okay. Now, in Three Musketeers, ये चार लोग होते हैं, they are very close friends. There is a sequel. Sequel is called 20 years after, 20 साल बाद. वही चार लोग अब फिर से मिलते हैं. But now the relationship has changed. People are the same, but each one has evolved in 20 years. The situation, ये फ्रांस की इतिहास है, तो at that time उनकी politics बदल गई है, राजा बदल गए हैं, माने दुनिया की स्थिति बदल गई है. But you are looking at the friendship after 20 years. So he gave me this idea that you write a foreword called 5 years after. So that is what right now I am trying to do. So I am busy reading 20 years after because I have not read it for 50 years.
So we can expect a book in a new format, upgraded version, or with a new
You'll probably
forward?
get a book sometime next year with a new forward.
Yeah, we
or
wish to
a
do-
new updated.
To be very precise, sir, youth wants to know what goes in your head, like what kind of books you read, and when you pick them up, what is that one particular book or two books that has really defined your personality, change your leadership style, give you new dimensions, or create some long-lasting impact on you?
I wouldn't say it is a book. I'll tell you what is because sometimes I have myself thought, ki man, why did I pick up this book and not that book? And the common feature, because even your question, when I told you I'm reading 3 or 4 books, my interest most of the time is less about, good and bad and right and wrong or, it is mostly about decisions, choices. In the given situation, what choice did people make? Because afterwards, you can say, nahi, wo nahi karna tha, this would have been better. But at that time, you don't know that, So in that specific situation, what you know, because why I say this is, most of the time, in my own life, in my own job, we don't get 100% information. You're lucky if you get 50, 60, 70%. But at 50%, 70% information, you have to make a decision. Because sometimes the pressure is high. How do you make that decision? So any account, for example, I like reading people's biography, because what happens in biography, normally बड़े लोगों की biography लिखी जाती है, तो उन्होंने कुछ तो किया होगा जिंदगी में, तो कुछ किया है तो कुछ निर्णय लिए होंगे, तो कुछ निर्णय लिए होंगे तो कुछ विकल्प होगा उस समय, तो उन्होंने ये नहीं लिया वो लिया, क्यों लिया? Now it's a very interesting thing. Now you can be a big leader, you can be a military strategist. I like, for example, I look at sports people. Last year I read, in fact I released Mohinder Amarnath's book, his biography, autobiography, which he had written with his brother. Now, Mahinder Amarnath is my age, okay? But he was the vice captain of the 1983 World Cup. He was actually the player who was the best performing player in that World Cup. But when a player tells you, I made this decision, I took guard like this, I decided I will play like this, aaj main defensive nahi hoonga, today I decided to bat, today I decided to go after that bowler, not this bowler. It's a very interesting, psychology which is there. Now the same thing, you are reading, say about Napoleon, and Napoleon decides he will fight this country or that general or this battle or not that battle. So to me, life is a series of choices. Life is a series of decisions. You make, there is no such thing as one of the biggest problems, you want a perfect situation. You want to know everything before you take a call. It never happens in life. So how do you learn from people? Because जिंदगी में रिस्क लेना चाहिए. हम लेते हैं, कभी हमको भी पता नहीं होता कि रिस्क लेते. So, young people, for example, sometimes have to decide, what do you want to do in life? You have actually made a choice कि मुझे ये करना है, मुझे स्टार्टअप करना है, मुझे सर्विस नहीं करनी, मुझे मिलिट्री में जाना है, मुझे देश के बाहर जाना है. Each one is a choice. Each one is a risk. Each one has a benefit. But somewhere in your mind you are making it. And that to me is the most fascinating question of life. So most books I pick up in some form come to that.
Great, it's a great takeaway. Biography is something that has shaped him and there's given power to us to take decisions in life and do take risk. Now, coming on to the books, the first book, The Indian Way, and another one, Why Bharat Matters. If I decode both of them in one word, I will say the summary of both the book is nation first. That's what I look at it. And what is the core theme of it? It's like a doctrine that you have been thinking about, or it's a mindset, or it's like a work in progress that is being, being polished and refined and challenged by circumstances. So how do you look at the core of this book, sir?
Say, it is not a doctrine or a concept, it is something else. And in fact, in a way, this book started in Pune, and I'll tell you how it started. See, what happens is, as I told you, I was a student of political science, international relations. Most of the textbook you get are written by Western people, okay? If you make a big effort, koi Chinese, Japanese, Russian, some other translation you get. Now, I was tired of reading this again and again, कि हम बड़े strategic लोग हैं, but India has no tradition of strategy, no tradition of statecraft. So even the terms people would use, they would use, many of you know these terms. Say, for example, Trojan horse. Trojan horse was a horse, जिसके अंदर लोग थे, so they took it into a city not realizing people were there. So Trojan horse is like a trap, a trap which you are tempted to take into your house. Now, you get a lot of these terms or phrases, and somewhere, it kept troubling me that look, after all, we have grown up with our stories. We have grown up with our beliefs, our culture. I'm giving you a very, very basic thing. हम कहते हैं, अरे लक्ष्मण रेखा है. अब everybody knows what it means. Okay? Now, we don't use our own terms. We don't, and the world doesn't know our own terms also. So, if you read, Western authors, they will tell you there are these two great Greek classics. Okay? Iliad and Odyssey. So lot of the historical allusions are to that. Now, here we have Ramayana and Mahabharata, older, longer, more complicated storyline, more dilemmas, more choices, more statecraft. But if you go to somebody in the West, most of them would never have even heard of it. So, it was actually this feeling which was growing in me, that look, because this, I had retired after 41 years in diplomatic service, तो जो भी अंदर था ना, आक्रोश वो निकल आया उसमें. And it was, I want to explain to the world what I have felt for a long time. This one was, I was actually in a university here talking to students, and we actually had like a workshop. And there is a very, in America there's a person called George Stanham. Generations of American scholars came to India, and वो पहले सबसे पहले उनकी एक monograph type थी, that said India has no strategic history, India has no statecraft. Now I don't know which world that gentleman was living in, but चलिए, but he became authority on India because उसी की किताब पढ़ते थे लोग. So I wanted to show that look, I mean, because you don't know, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But that's not enough. I have to make you know. And I have to make you know by writing something. And actually, this was given to me in a meeting, in a gathering in this city, where somebody asked me कि साहब आपने किताब लिखी है, उसमें महाभारत का आपने वर्णन किया है. Can you not do something like this with Ramayana? Till that time I had not thought of it. Because we think that, Mahabharata is about, power, it's about struggle, it is to, family, vibhajan hua, ladai hui beech mein. We don't think naturally of all the complexity of Ramayana, the tactics, the strategy, the game plan. So, in fact, that is when somebody asked me, who are the greatest diplomats? And at that time, my mind was on this, so I said Sri Krishna and Hanuman. Because one is the great diplomat of this story, Mahabharata, the other is a great diplomat of Ramayana. And if you look, I still tell people, think about what, Hanuman did go into Sri Lanka. He was sent to actually get information. वो गए वहाँ, he was able to get information, he was actually able to go all the way to meet Ma Sita. He was able to get her morale up, ki, don't worry, we are. He was able to go into the court, he was able to size up Ravan's whole setup. उन्होंने विभीषण की टैलेंट स्पॉटिंग की कि भाई ये विभीषण भला आदमी है, गलत कंपनी में है, इसको अगर कहीं प्रोत्साहित करें तो वो हमारे साइड में आ भी जाएगा. Because remember, when Vibhishan defected, other than actually Prabhu Shri Ram and Hanuman, everybody else was very suspicious of him. They thought it was a trap. And then he was able to actually psychologically, in a way, defeat Ravan. Ki aag laga di unke pooch pe, he was able to burn the city down. Now, which bigger diplomat can you find? इसको एक काम किया, उन्होंने 10 काम किए, beyond expectation of the person who is sending him. Now, now, if a person like this, you don't present before the world, I think we do our culture a great injustice.
That's great, sir. When I was reading this book, sir, मैं चाहूँगा कि कुछ quote करूँ आपकी किताब से, because when you read it, you'll get a glimpse of it, how our foreign minister thinks. It says, this is a time for us to engage America, manage China, cultivate Europe, reassure Russia, bring Japan into play, draw neighbors in, extend the neighborhood, and expand traditional constituencies of support. ये पूरी दुनिया में डिप्लोमेटिक सर्कल्स में एक नया नैरेटिव था, एक नई तरह का एक आर्गुमेंट था. So how do you see, sir, juggling these so many balls and without hitting each other and balancing it way and finding the way out?
जब भी मैं वो इसकी फ्रेंच प्रीफेस लिखूंगा, I will actually say 5 years after. That, I thought a lot about the choice of words to describe, because I was trying in one sentence to describe, in a way, our total policy. I still think the sentence, if you ask me, would you say it again? I would say yes. I would say it again because But I would also say each one has become more complicated in 5 years. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Huh? Managing China has become complicated. Reassuring Russia became complicated because, is Ukraine war, the pressure on us to move away from Russia. Then I had, bringing Japan into play, क्योंकि वो अपने speed पे चलते हैं, so we want, we are trying to make them move faster. And we actually today, if you look, for us, Europe is one very important partner with whom we need to make more effort. And then when you come to the neighborhood, we have today to say, the neighbors we have, they are smaller than us. Every one of them is linked to us. उनके यहाँ भी पॉलिटिक्स होती है, ऊपर नीचे जाते हैं, कभी हमारी प्रशंसा करते हैं, कभी आलोचना करते हैं, because we are actually an issue in their politics also. So how do you, you can say, knowing it will go up and down, how do you make sure this relationship is as steady as possible? That is a strategy, So if just this week, there was a big, last week actually, a big cyclone in Sri Lanka. So which were the countries? Within the same day, we were there with help, So if you look at COVID, ask our neighbors, आपका vaccine कहाँ से आया? It came from India. When Ukraine war started, और सबका पेट्रोल और गेहूं और fertilizer कट गया, who gave it to you? It came out of India. So, or it isn't only in crisis, even regularly, I would say, अगर हम लोग उनके साथ बिजली की ग्रिड बनाए, रोड बनाए, वाटरवे बनाए, रेल लिंक बनाए, व्यापार करें, exchanges, students. So I think we have to find a way of keeping, it is like a family. Sometimes in a family, 1 or 2 or 3 members of the family may get upset with you. But as the I would say, like the biggest member of the family, हम लोगों का एक दायित्व बनता है कि, you make that extra effort. And last issue, because I referred to the neighborhood beyond, I just came this week from the Gulf. मैं प्रधानमंत्री जी के साथ था, मैं ओमान में था. Before that, I was in Israel and UAE. If you look at the Gulf, the history of the Gulf is very, very close to the history of India. जब प्रधानमंत्री जी वहाँ गए, ओमान की अब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, Oman used to be a big trading kingdom. वहाँ से लोग to the coastline of Maharashtra and Gujarat, they used to come on the boat every day up and down. Now, what happened because of partition? Because of partition, somehow वो बीच में कोई आ गया, आप जानते हैं कौन आ गया, then they became distant from us. माने जो आपके बिल्कुल पड़ोस में थे, वो 1-2 इलाके और आगे बढ़ गए. So how to rebuild that feeling? Rebuild it in the Gulf, rebuild it in Southeast Asia, rebuild it in Central Asia. And some of you will be traveling outside. People take holidays or work or something. I have one request of you. जहाँ भी आप जाएं, in Gulf, in Southeast Asia, in Indian Ocean, in Central Asia, look for the imprint of India. You will be surprised how much is the imprint of India. People don't know in the middle of Vietnam. In the middle of Vietnam because Angkor Wat लोगों ने सुना हुआ, Cambodia में, in fact, biggest Hindu temple is not in this country. It is in Cambodia. But in the middle of Vietnam, there was a big Shaivite kingdom. So even now you can actually go to visit those sites. So my point is, when you look at foreign policy, you must have clarity. You have to make the choice, as I said. कि you must have a game plan, you must have clarity, you must revisit it, you have to make decisions, but you have to pick all the positive points which will work for you and make them work.
थैंक यू सर. बिफोर आई टेक क्वेश्चन, लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर. इंटरनेशनल मीडिया में और फॉरेन पॉलिसी कॉरिडोर्स में आपको इंडियाज़ फॉरेन पॉलिसी का कटिंग एज भी लोग बोलते हैं. जब डिस्कोर्स शुरू होता है तो आपके वन लाइनर उसको फुल स्टॉप लगा देते हैं. जैसे मैं एक लाइन बोलूँगा, भारत विल नेवर शाई अवे फ्रॉम क्वेश्चंस, बट इक्वली भारत हैज़ द करेज टू क्वेश्चन द क्वेश्चनर्स. इस तरह की जब आप बात हमारे देश के लिए करते हैं, नैरेटिव को रखते हैं, तो केवल देश की आवाम की नहीं, एंटायर इकोसिस्टम गेट दैट एनर्जी सर. सो माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, नाउ इंडियाज फॉरेन पॉलिसी इज गेटिंग असर्टिव, it is taking civilizational shape, it's creating the record straight, setting the record straight. How do you foresee this changing world order, multipolar, then bipolar, unipolar? So these poles are changing very quickly in the circumstances. आप देश की foreign policy को इस multipolar changing world order में कैसे देखते हैं?
जो आपका जो शुरुआत में जो आपने कहा ना, I'll be honest with you. क्या होता है कि I think anybody speaking for the country reflects the mood of the country, the sentiment of the country. So if people, say things, if they have a comment on me, to be very honest, what am I doing? I'm actually reflecting the mood here. But most of the time, I can tell you what I say, I'm quite confident is what is in your mind, what is in your heart. That if we feel, others are pushing us, if we feel that, somewhere there is some unfair comment made about us, we are under pressure, that kahin double standard hai, wo kuch apna kuch karte hain, aapko kuch kehte hain. So I can tell you these thoughts are, they may be my thoughts, I may say it. But I know that in the minds of many of you or most of you, actually those very thoughts are there. Because how did I get those thoughts? I got those thoughts by interactions, by picking up from people. But today what has happened is, you see, in our country, we had one era of coalition politics. याद है ना आपको? World is today like an era of coalition politics. किसी की majority नहीं, किसी coalition की भी majority नहीं. So what happens is constantly combinations are formed, deals are struck, somebody is up, somebody is down, some issue comes up. So this is really like a, जब हम कहते हैं multipolar world is like having many parties. And the combination of parties decides for the day, but वो बदलता रहता है. And you have to stay on top of the game, which means we have to be very nimble. We have to, I'll be very frank with you. Sometimes, so you are with one, for some other issue, you are with another. But all the while, I have one principle: what is helping my country. So whatever helps my country, that is my choice.
Thank you so much, sir. We are running short of time. Just one quick question, sir. अगर आप career diplomat नहीं होते तो क्या होते?
यार, I knew somewhere there was a hard question. Hard. Look, I honestly, I don't know, because what happened was I was in university, I was doing my PhD, I sat for UPSC, तुक्का लग गया तो आप पास हो गए. So I never had a chance to think about it. But the closest answer I can give you, maybe I would have liked to be in business.
Great.
Because
Thank you so much. Before we go very quickly, any
no,
question?
because I'll give you one complete. When I finished, this question you should have been asked at 22. But this question was asked of me in 60s also. Chaliye aapne khatam kar diya, now what do you want to do? So at that stage I actually joined Tata's as global strategy head. Because I wanted to see how, do I have a mind, can I take those skills into business? I felt it, I could. So that is the regret I have, you can say.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. Quick questions. Mike, please. Very brief, to the point.
Good evening, sir.
Louder and quick.
Good evening, sir. I believe we live in a world where diplomacy is also more of public discourse. So, in such an environment, how do we, as India, decide what to, like, when to take decisions strategically and when to speak openly?
Okay. One more question, quickly. We'll round up. One more.
Hello.
Please,
hello.
one more.
Hello. Here. This side.
Give the mic.
Back side, please.
Kindly, quickly.
Okay. So my question to sir, this side, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
quickly, fast.
Yeah. So as India is a developing country, right? And we are working with lots of countries. So having issues with US, China, and neighboring countries, right? So just want to ask that only one Jaishankar is complete for India, or are we preparing for many Jaishankar for India? And is there any approach or any policy?
Keep it
going on?
quite crisp,
Yeah.
please.
Thank
Quickly,
you.
fast.
Okay.
Ma'am, quickly, please.
Yes. Given the rising trend of brain drain happening in India, how does the government assess this problem, and what are the measures that will be taken?
Okay.
I missed the initial part. Given
Brain drains, brain drain issues.
brain drain. So your first question I put differently. You are asking me when do you keep your mouth shut and when do you open your mouth? That is what you are asking. So, and you know, my answer is actually it depends on the situation. You know, you would be surprised how much I don't speak. वो कभी आता नहीं है because मैं चुप रहता हूँ. So you can't make a reel of some guy who doesn't speak. But you know, today it is not only जो उन्होंने पूछा multipolar है, it is also very competitive. If you don't speak, if you don't set out a point, दुनिया आपको दबा देती. You know, they think that by pushing you, you will be on the defensive, you will apologize, you will be marginalized. So it is important to raise your voice. I'm not saying you should raise it every time. I think, but that is a judgment call. On your question, look, you asked your question was a wrong question. You actually should have asked me, there is one Modi.
Yeah.
So, that was the question you should have asked me. Because ultimately, जो diplomat होते ना, even after all, Sri Hanuman finally serves. So bear it in mind. Look, you have the, you know, countries are defined by leaders, countries are defined by vision. There are people who execute it. But ultimately, today it is that vision, the leadership, the confidence, that is what makes a difference. Your question, you know, on brain drain, see, it's a very complex issue. And in fact, only today in the morning, I was speaking at a university and I spoke about globalizing of the workforce. And I'll tell you why. You know, it's no longer, I've seen people who go out for 2 years, 5 years, come back, set up business, who do service outside. You know, as I travel, I look, one of the biggest shipping line in the world, commercial shipping line told me that probably the highest number of employees that they have are from India because they value those employees. They have rated them very highly. I see today a global opening for Indian talent that, you know, in fact, just now we had President Putin. One of the agreements we did was he was keen to get Indians to come and work in Russia. When I look at the demography of the world, I look at Europe, you know, they are, even though there's an immigration debate in Europe, Indians are well regarded. You know, people say, देखो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, family centric लोग हैं, tax देते हैं, काम करते हैं. You know, we have tech people, we have aptitude for that. So there is today a global brand of Indians. It's a good brand. We have built it over the years. And young people, I would say young people should take advantage of it. Take advantage of it and look at the world as a global workplace. I was flying from, I think, Israel to UAE. The captain of one of those flights, this was not an Indian flight, was an Indian lady. So, you feel today, okay, our people are going out, they are earning, they are doing well, they are making a name. And I think that's great for the country.
Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of all Punekars, Pune Book Festival, Pune Literature Festival, and complete organizing committee, National Book Trust of India, I convey my heartfelt gratitude and thanks for your kind presence here. Because of you, that the entire youth has been motivated, sir.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.